We have all been there. You have a tough talk scheduled for 2 p.m. You spend the whole morning feeling sick. You pace around the office rehearsing arguments in your head. You think, I'm just going to go in there and be honest. And then you walked in. They push back once and you crumble. You freeze, you stutter, and you explode. You didn't fail because you weren't honest, but you failed because you were relying on hope instead of a protocol. Amateurs wing it, professionals prepare. Today, I'm handing you this 3-step pre-talk framework. This is the exact strategy used by hostage negotiators and Fortune 500s to win the conversation before they even enter the room. Let's build your battle map. I am a communication strategist, a researcher, and an author. I don't teach soft skills because in high-stakes leadership, nothing is soft. I teach operational fluency. I help leaders navigate the friction that destroy teams. If you're new here, welcome to episode 5 on the art of difficult conversation. Let's look at the toolkit we built so far. In episode 1, we learned balikt to script the flow. In episode 2, we mastered the fluency trifecta to build authority. In episode 3, we established psychological safety. In episode 4, we built the emotional quotient emergency kit to control our emotion. But here is the missing link. You can have high EQ, a great script, but if your strategy is wrong, you will still lose. So today, we take all those tools and arrange them into a plan. If you are ready to stop guessing and start leading, hit the subscribe button right now. Do not watch this passively. Get a pen and paper. We are doing a workshop today. Here is the controversial advice. Never walk into a difficult conversation just to be honest. If your goal is just to get things off your chest, that is not a meeting. That is venting. And venting is expensive. It costs you relationships and credibility. Before you schedule the meeting, you must pass the goal audit. Most managers have venting goals like, I want to show them they are wrong. But strategic leaders have outcome goals like, I want to fix the shipping delay. If you cannot write down the operational outcome in one sentence, cancel the meeting because you aren't ready. So let's dig into the science of this. Edwin Locke and Gary Latham's research on goal-setting theory proves that specific difficult goals lead to higher performance than vague goals. In a difficult conversation, ambiguity is your enemy. So here's the protocol. Look at your meeting invite. What is the intention? If we go back to episode 1, the balikt framework, remember that letter B begin with intention. Your prep work starts here. I want you to write down 2 things. First, the operational goal. What specifically needs to change in the workflow? For example, reports must be submitted by 4 p.m. Next, the relational goal. How do I want them to feel when they leave? For example, I want them to feel supported, not attacked. If you skip relational goal, you might win the argument but lose the employee. And that violates psychological safety. So you need both. The biggest mistake smart people make in argument is assuming they are right. You walk in with your story, you are lazy. They walk in with their story, I am overworked. And you spend 30 minutes fighting over whose story is true. And of course, that is a waste of time. Harvard researchers call the solution the third story. The third story is the version of events that a neutral mediator would tell. It contains no judgment, only data. So instead of saying you are late, the third story is the email was sent at 5:05 p.m. If you cannot tell the third story, you are just looking for a fight. So this concept comes from Harvard Negotiation Project and the seminal book Difficult Conversation by Douglas Stone, Bruce Patton, and Sheila Heen. In our fluency system, this connects directly to the fluency trifecta from episode 2, specifically the synthesizer. A synthesizer does not deal in drama, they deal in data. So what's the protocol? On your battle map, create 3 columns. Column number 1, my view. Write down all your feelings. For example, they are disrespectful. Get it out of your system. Second column, their view. This is the hard part. You have to write down what they would say. For example, the boss gave me unclear instruction. Empathy isn't soft. It's strategic data gathering. Third column, combine them into a neutral statement. That's the story. Result, I see a gap between when I expected the report, my view, and when you had the data to finish, their view. So let's solve the gap. When you start with the third story, you disarm their amygdala because you aren't attacking them. You are attacking the gap. I want to pause here. This third story technique is the single most powerful tool for de-escalation. If you have been ever in an argument where you felt unheard, it's because the other person stuck to their story. If you want to be the leader who listens, hit that like button. It tells YouTube that we value high emotional quotient leadership content. You can also click the link below to apply for private or corporate training. Mike Tyson famously said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. In a difficult conversation, that punch is the objection you didn't see coming. You prep your script, you sit down, and then they say, well, I only did that because you forgot to send the invite. And now you're triggered. Your emotional quotient emergency kit fails because you are shocked. The best negotiators don't just plan for the ideal conversation. They plan for the disaster conversation. And it's called implementation intention. If X happens, I will do Y. Peter Galtwitzer, a psychologist at New York University, studied how we stick to goals under stress. He found that simple if-then relationship increases success rates dramatically. So we're going to use this to bulletproof your balik script. So here's the protocol. Write down the 3 things you are most afraid they will say. For example, fear number 1, they will blame the budget. Fear number 2, they will cry. Fear number 3, they will threaten to quit. Now, write your then statement using the fluency trifecta. If they blame the budget, then I will use the synthesizer. Let's look at the numbers together. If they cry, then I will use the psychological safety. Take a moment, we can pause. If they get defensive, then I will use the balik framework, the last step, know your next step. Let's take a break and reconvene at 4 p.m. When you script your reaction before the meeting, you remove the element of surprise and you stay in control. So here is your pre-talk battle map. First, the goal audit. Define the operational and relational outcome. Next, the third story. Remove the judgment, stick to the data gap. Third, the scenario planner. Use if-then logic to anticipate the punch. If you do this 15 minutes before every tough talk, you stop winging it and start operating like a strategist. But there is one final layer. You can have the perfect plan, the perfect script, and the perfect emotional quotient. But what if the person across from you hates you? What if the relationship is already broken? Strategic communication cannot fix a toxic relationship. In the next episode, episode 6, we are going deep into relationship is the conversation, building bridges, not walls. We are going to learn how to repair trust outside of the meeting room. And this is about mastery. So click that video on the screen and let's keep building. Also click the link below to apply for corporate training. I'll see you there, and don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next video.